Committee will come to order, and I am delighted to welcome our two witnesses today, the gentleman John Culverson from Texas and the gentleman, the Eagle Scout, Sanford Bishop from Georgia. And I would eagerly await your testimony, and as always, for both of you, if you have any prepared remarks, we would certainly welcome you following that script, or if you just want to give it to us, and without objection, that will be included into the record. I think both of you are aware that the gentleman, Mr. Dreyer, the chairman of the Rules Committee, has indicated that he anticipates that this will be an open rule. This is not news to anybody, but it will be probably a shock as we're on the floor and deal with the impact of this. I think it's very important that we recognize that the new Republican majority has talked about wanting to do this, needing to do this, and that we believe that the transparency and openness is very important, not only to the American people, but also to this body. Perhaps more importantly, I believe that what will come with this is a true subscription of members of Congress who will represent most forthrightly not only the people that they represent in their districts, but really in their full job as a member of Congress to be responsible for the activities, given full responsibility to engage in a open process that will be good for all of us. I want to welcome each of you, and we will start with the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Culverson. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the Rules Committee. I thank you for taking the time today, and it is our privilege to present to you the Appropriations Subcommittee bill funding the operation of the Veterans Administration and military construction for our men and women in uniform around the world. We, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, are delighted that this committee is prone to adopt an open rule. Transparency and openness is fundamental to our new majority. One of those promises we made to the country that we have been honor-bound to keep and proud to do so, and are going to make sure that the public has an opportunity to see, read our bills at least 72 hours in advance of the floor debate, and that every member of the House has an opportunity to present an amendment to any appropriations bill as they come to the floor. Mr. Bishop and I have had the privilege of working together on this bill. Our subcommittee is one that works arm in arm and in a completely nonpartisan way, because we feel our job is to make sure that we think of ourselves as the Peace of Mind Committee for the U.S. military, to make sure that our men and women in uniform, in active duty, and those who are retired have no worries. They should never have to look over their shoulder to worry about the quality of their housing, about the quality of their health care, about the quality of the facilities. And we've done our best in this bill to fund all of the requests submitted to us by every branch of the military. We have, however, in light of the record deficit, the record debt, the unprecedented level of unfunded liabilities faced by our American taxpayers and our children and grandchildren, for the first time, our subcommittee and other subcommittees are taking money left on the table, and rather than respending it in other subcommittees, we're rescinding that money and returning it to taxpayers to reduce the deficit. So our bill that we present to you today contains rescissions of about $388,400,000 that are going to be returned to taxpayers from a number of accounts, money from BRAC 1990 that was unspent, planning, design, unspent money in a number of other areas. We've also found reductions and savings in 5 projects that we're funding incrementally because of the lateness of last year's appropriations, the current year's appropriations bill, and we found $304 million worth of savings there, Mr. Chairman. And we're also found $60 million worth of savings in 3 other projects that, based on information we received from the branches of the military, could be placed at a lower priority. And then finally, and again, I want to make sure that we're being as brief as possible, because this, again, is a bill that we've worked on together, arm in arm, in support of our military. We've also found savings for the Veterans Administration, General Administration, savings of $25 million below the budget request by freezing most offices at headquarters. We've also found savings of $136 million in VA's information technology systems, and $75 million in savings in minor construction costs. And then finally, we decided to, again, as a committee, arm in arm, with unanimity, that we would not fund a brand new courthouse for the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans claims. In sum, Mr. Chairman, this bill is one that we are proud to submit to you for scheduling on the floor under an open rule, under a transparent rule. The public has a chance to read, see, and hear what we're doing. And we are confident this fully funds the needs of the United States military here and abroad, fully funds the needs of our veterans around the country, and while at the same time doing so in a fiscally responsible way that returns unspent money to taxpayers and ensures that we are managing these very precious resources that taxpayers of America have invested in our government in a way that's prudent, fiscally responsible, and gives our men and women in uniform a worry-free environment in which to work in protecting this nation's liberty. It's my privilege to submit the bill to you with my good friend Sanford Bishop of Georgia.
I thank the gentleman from Texas not only for his forthrightness about finding money that may be brought to bear, but also delighted to hear the references to working together. The military, the veterans, military construction, the ability that we have to take care of the men and women in the military from that your perspective is very important, and to know that you worked well together. It would have been my guess that working with an Eagle Scout of Sanford's qualities, that it would have been an easy task also, and I'm glad you described it that way. Gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Ranking Member, Ms. Slaughter. I'd like to thank Chairman Culberson again for his hard work on the bill, and I'm glad to be here today going through the regular order. I'd like for the members to know that this bill does some good things. On the Milcon side, it will provide funding to refurbish 15 Department of Defense schools and start construction on the Medical Replacement Center at Landstuhl in Germany. While I'd like to give more resources to Veterans Affairs, I'm pleased that the committee continues to build upon the progress that was made by the Democratic majority in the last Congress. I've seen Chairman Rogers' letter requesting an open rule, and I have heard Ranking Member Dix express a desire for regular order, and I'm happy to hear that Chairman Dreyer is expressing the need to have regular order and an open rule, and I'd like to join all of them in expressing my support for an open rule as well. However, I am concerned about what the structure of the rule might ultimately take when it's reported. I've been hearing, and I hope it's not true, that the Milcon VA bill will be divided by the rule with two sections, military construction and Veterans Affairs funding considered separately. In my judgment, separating the titles in this bill may ultimately have no impact on passage, but I believe that it will set a bad precedent. I'm concerned about the impact on other bills like the Transportation HUD or LABE HHS, which might not enjoy the same broad bipartisan support as our bill. But if the Rules Committee follows through on separating the bills by agency, I believe that it would fundamentally change our entire process, making reconciliation of Senate and House bills much more complicated and much more awkward because the Senate process and procedures are not in tandem with those of the House. From the procedural standpoint, it will severely impact this committee's process of reconciling these bills, which has an appropriation structure that mirrors the House structure identically now, the Senate does. I believe that it will really be a bad precedent, and in addition, our current process is very straightforward. The members are familiar with it already, and while I support an open rule, I do have reservations to the extent that any change in the way that the bill would ultimately be structured for floor consideration. I would hope that the Rules Committee continues to support the regular order that we've been yearning to return to for a long time. And with that, I'm happy to join my colleague, Mr. Culberson, in submitting the bill for military construction, Veterans Affairs, and related agencies for your consideration, and hope that we can get it to the floor and get it passed so that our military families, our military men and women will have what they need as they fight and as they come home.
Thank you very much. I appreciate not only your testimony, but also that of the chairman. I will allude to and talk about the same thing that you did. And in fact, this member is supportive of exactly what perhaps you're opposed to. But I am in favor of, and I believe the Rules Committee will have a say in this matter. But about what I believe is appropriately looking at the bills in sections. And I believe that in the sections, there are a good number of things that members will be expected to vote on. Some will want to vote yes on some. Some will want to vote no on other areas. Our appropriations bills are rather broad in scope, and yet somebody may want to vote in aggregate on the final piece, yes or no. But this gives them an opportunity to more effectively, I believe, state what their intentions are in the pieces of those bills. So while I do recognize not everybody agrees with me, the Rules Committee will have a say in that today, and I believe that when we render the bill, I think we can look at this as perhaps a model for where we would move through in the future. And part that we do agree on is an open rule and that process that would be there available for all the members. So I appreciate your testimony. At this time, I'd like to see if Mrs. Fox has any questions. Mrs. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions. I want to thank the gentleman for coming today and making a great presentation. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Slaughter.
No questions, but I too want to thank both of you for this. Probably these are two of the favorite bills that we have in the House. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
I think the points the gentlewoman makes there about the importance is it's also important on the way we present this on the floor. And I think the ability that we have in this committee and that you have in your committee, but how we're seen by the American people and also the military is very important. And so I would join with Mrs. Slaughter in congratulating you. Mr. Bishop?
I thank you both for what you have done in your service, and you have made some incredibly wise decisions on page 82 in the report. And Mr. I have no idea what you're talking about, man. And Mr. Culberson, now that you've checked this off your box, I want some bills out of you. Is that okay?
It's good for Utah. It's good for America, right?
I don't know what any of you are talking about. This is some very good decisions. Thank you.
We know if it's good for Texas, it's good for America.
I thank the gentleman. It is all done in support of members of the military.
That's right. Arm in arm.
Mr. McGovern?
Arm in arm. Thank you.
Mr. Woodall? Mr. Hastings?
Mr. Chairman, I echo the sentiments of members who thank the chairman and ranking member of this subcommittee, and I applaud your work. I especially am grateful to you for fully funding the medical and prosthetic research within the Veterans House Administration. I think we all know the horrors of the number of persons we also know that have been have limbs removed. We also know that this research is moving rapidly, and they're doing phenomenal things to help people get back to as much of a normal life as they can. So I thank you both.
I thank the gentleman. Go to the gentleman, Mr. Woodall. Mr. Nugent.
No questions, but I do want to thank you in your committee's work, particularly to the 116,000 veterans in my district, and those returning veterans that have faced, incredible odds in harm's way, and my 3 sons that are currently in the military. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do to support our veterans. Thank you.
Ms. Polis. Thank you for your work. Thank you very much. Mr. Scott? Ms. Webster? Mr. Reed? Good. Thank you very much. I want to thank both of you not only for being here before us, but the way in which you presented yourself, not only the bill, but also I hope that you were met by the Rules Committee in a way that would be favorable to your success, that you would feel like that you can move forward out of here to the floor with the same respect to the members of the military, their families, their dependents, that each of you so diligently have worked for to make sure that your product would be well received and would be something that the floor would be prepared for. So I want to thank both of you. on behalf of the committee, and you're now excused.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone else that seeks to be recognized? Oh, we are ready. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and close record. You now are excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll now end the hearing, and evidently we're awaiting the rule. And gentlewoman's recognized for the purpose of rule.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant H.R. 2055, the Military Construction Veterans Affairs and Related Agencies Appropriations Act 2012, an open rule. The rule provides for 1 hour of general debate on the bill, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Appropriations. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule waives points of order against provisions in the bill for failure to comply with Clause 2 of Rule 21. The rule provides that the bill shall be considered for amendment under the 5-minute rule. The rule authorizes the chair to accord priority and recognition to members who have pre-printed their amendments in the congressional record. The rule requires the chairman to put the question on retaining Title II, Department of Veterans Affairs, prior to putting the question on engrossment and third reading. The rule provides one motion to recommit with or without instructions. Finally, the rule directs the clerk in the engrossment of H.R. 2055 to make technical and conforming changes in the event a portion of the bill is not retained.
I thank the gentlewoman from North Carolina for her motion. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, very
Don't want to
briefly, we're not objecting at all today, but I think Mr. Bishop did make a good point that we need to keep our eye on this procedure to make sure that it's going to do well. MilCon and veterans are different, they're very unusual, and we certainly will not object to what's happening today, but we'll be watching the future to make sure that we think it will be appropriate on other bills. Thank you.
I thank the gentlewoman's comments. Gentleman, Mr. Polis recognized.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the chairman and the majority for offering a open rule, an open rule that does not contain any deemed past revisions or anything else that becomes enacted along with the rule itself. And I, for one, plan on supporting this rule here in committee today, and we hope that this is the first of many. And I yield back.
I thank the gentlewoman and gentleman for their comments in support of the motion from the gentlewoman from North Carolina. So all those in favor of the motion of the gentlewoman from North Carolina say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The chair recognizes a unanimous vote on behalf of support of the motion. I want to thank each of you for, yes, I'll do that. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for going through. This is probably the fastest rule I've ever seen in my 13 years in Rules Committee, and it makes me feel really good. The Republicans will have the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Webster, who will be managing our rule, and Mr. Hastings, the gentleman from Florida, also will be the Democrat lead on this. Is there anything else that's before the committee at this time?
I wonder if we plan to meet again this week?
You know, we are planning on doing that, and I will find out very quickly what day. That was a good answer. The answer is that while we do not have anything planned, I believe that what we're going to do is let this proceed to the floor and see how we do here. It is expected that we would meet later in the week, and we do not have a time or an hour as of yet. But we will be very pleased to notify you. I would anticipate that there are several subjects that I have seen teed up in the media, and would anticipate that the majority leader, Mr. Cantor, has brought those issues up, I believe, last week, of things that we could be prepared for this week when he had his discussion with the gentleman from Maryland. So I would anticipate that it will be those and confined to those issues that had previously been discussed. Hearing nothing further, the hearing is closed.